Hi, so I'm Julie Scott. I'm the Director of Institutional Relations at DIS, and very happy to see you all today. Brandeis is one of my favorite schools. I'm usually there every semester, and I miss being there in person, but I guess this is the next best thing. And I'm joined by my colleague Stephanie, and who will introduce herself. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Again, my name is Stephanie Bowman. I'm the Health and Safety Coordinator at our North American office in St. Paul, Minnesota. And thanks for having us. It's really great to be here.
Yeah, we're really excited to talk to you today. So we do have a PowerPoint that we'll run through to talk about, but we're a small group, so please feel free to interrupt, to pose any questions in the chat, tell us any questions that you might have or concerns along the way so we can make sure they're addressed. So I guess I'll go ahead and start off by sharing what we're planning to cover today. And we're going to talk about the DIS location, the students who come, the academics, the housing, using the city as your campus, budgeting, support, and then we'll have time for questions as well. So to kick it off, we have programs in both Denmark and Sweden. And so you can see here, Sweden is highlighted in Northern Europe or part of Scandinavia. And here's Denmark, just above Germany. And a lot of times, Copenhagen isn't as well known as some of the other European cities. So it's kind of good to have your bearings. And then you can see over, oh, I should have had the pointer, but I don't have that. But Copenhagen is over here to the right. It's this island and yeah, surrounded by water. So it's very close to the climate of like Seattle. They actually have had snow recently and very excited when that happens. They don't get a lot of that. So these are two pictures. The one on the left is Stockholm. So can anyone put, well, never mind. And this is the Royal College of Music. And so DIS is located on 2 floors of this brand new building that opened a few years ago. We've been in Stockholm since 2016. We have a group of students studying there now. And we'll talk a little bit more about academics and things like that. There's no local campus, so students all commute. On the right-hand side, you see Copenhagen. That's one of our buildings with a lot of bikes. Everybody, almost majority of the population uses public transportation or bikes to get to work, to school. And what's nice, so in the Stockholm program, I would say is a bit more intimate, whereas because you're all in one place, it's a smaller program. The program in Copenhagen is over 60 years old. We have more students and we have more buildings. So we have a little bit of an urban campus there where you can mostly walk to your classes, except if there's any of you who are planning to do the medical practice and policy, you'll be placed at local hospitals. But it's kind of a contrast. You can kind of see the older architecture and the new kind of Scandinavian design of in Stockholm.
So I'll just talk a little bit about our students and where they come from. So we like Julie said, our program in Copenhagen is a little bit larger. We have approximately 1,200 students every semester in Copenhagen, and then about 120 in Stockholm. And these students come from all over the United States. So from 150 US colleges and universities, all US students. So that is who's coming to both of our locations. Average incoming GPA is 3.5. So it is, a higher level program. And we have about 25% students of color, 46 nationalities represented. And then in addition, most all of our students receive some kind of discount or scholarship for the program.
I'll cover a little bit about academics, and then I'm going to pause and take any questions after the next couple of slides. So our faculty teach what they do. So you'll see in both Copenhagen and Stockholm, we have a wide range of courses and disciplines that are covered. And so we have a lot of experts teaching in their field. Your classes are on Monday and Thursday and Tuesday and Friday. And then on Wednesdays, we reserve for the experiential learning piece where we call them field studies. So you might have one field study on a Wednesday or two or none, but all of your classes will have field studies. So an example would be couple semesters ago, I was in Copenhagen and I went on the criminal justice study tour to an open prison. And I've been to the political science one that goes to the parliament, meeting different members of the government. But you really are meeting interesting people through this small network of people working in that field. We expect you to go to class. It's not a semester off. And the faculty will often kind of definitely expect you to come prepared for class, and will not just review what you've read, but really move beyond that and into very interesting discussions. There's some classes will have group work, and that might be different from what you're used to. And then there's a high academic rigor. Yeah. And this is one of our classrooms and faculty member in Copenhagen.
Just one thing to add, just about the academic rigor. So that could change, that could be a lot different from what you experience on your home campus. So you can expect the classes to be rigorous, but it might be in a different way. So maybe more group work and experiential learning components to it. Maybe not as much testing. It just depends on the class, but that, those, each class is a little bit different and it'll look a little bit different than what you're used to at home as well.
And then specifically for Brandeis students, you need to have the Danish language or culture or Swedish language and culture class as one of your 5 classes. You need to have a minimum of 15 credits. So that would be 5 3-credit classes. And then there's no pass-fail allowed. So at this point, I would like to pause and see if you have any questions or to hear from you a little bit. If you don't have any questions, could you just share in the chat what you're interested in studying or what you're studying at Brandeis or interested in studying at DIS? Okay, psychology. Oh, it's a nice mix. So psychology, biology, public health, probably HSSP. We get a lot of those students from Brandeis. Neuroscience, public health, a lot of public health, and education. What's nice with those of you that have, you listed a couple things, you can really mix and match your curriculum. Like you might choose your core class, which I'll talk about in a minute, might be in public health, but then maybe you take a criminal justice class. Maybe you take something that just looks really cool to study while you're abroad, or that meets other gen ed requirements.
So I'll talk a little bit about study tours because this program is very experiential. So it has a focus on experiential learning with each. So Julie will talk a little bit more about core courses, but with the core course, you have these study tours that are incorporated into the class. There's two that you will participate in during the semester. And one happens earlier in the semester where you are spending time just with that core course class. So you spend the entire week with them, kind of digging into the topics. And you'll also be traveling about 3 days, and that's either in country or somewhere close. So depending on if you're studying in Denmark, you might be staying in Denmark or maybe going to Sweden, and then neighboring countries. And you're really just trying to kind of get out and get that experience kind of firsthand, meet people in the field. So really taking what you're learning in the classroom and then taking it out into the real world. The second is a week-long study tour, and you'd be traveling with your class and faculty for a week in Europe. And you're really, like I said, kind of bringing those theories from class, having it come to life, meeting with experts in the field, and then also just combining theory and practice and getting kind of a cultural exposure as well. And all of these are included in the tuition. So this is not an extra fee. So this is your travel expenses are included aside from about 1 meal a day is what we.
Yeah. These study tours are really a highlight of our program. I went on the glaciers and human impact short study tour within Denmark, and we saw where the glaciers were formed. We met experts working in the field. We went ice skating. It's just kind of, it becomes your academic home, kind of the core course in these study tours, because early in the semester, you'll spend 3 days traveling with your staff and students, fellow students. And the courses are relatively small. They're no more than 20 students. So you really get to know them well. And then you have the longer, Stephanie said, 5-day study tour. So
this is really the core group that you will get close to. I mean, it's that you will meet obviously other students in housing and other classes, but this is really your core course is like your core group. So a little bit about housing. We have a number of different housing options. There's some listed here. Homestay is when you'd students live with a local host family. And we also have other options for housing. So collegium, student boenda would be more like a dorm where you would be living in an apartment or with other students, other DIS students, and other local students as well. So there isn't the typical type of dorm that you are used to here in the States. Schools don't have their own dormitories. So there are specific student housing facilities in the city, and students from all over then come and live together. So we have that option. We also have some housing where you just be with other DIS students. And another, the Folkhoy School is a little bit different where they're a little bit further out in the city, and it's, I don't know how to, Julie, do you have a way of describing what that type of?
yeah, so one thing I wanted to add, so these 3 options, the homestay, the collegium or student bobona, and the Folkhoy School, are all options where you're living with other locals. And Brandeis requires that you choose one of those. And the Folkhoy School is a Scandinavian tradition where students are living in between, like between their gymnasium and university to study for 9 months. They don't get credit, but they could be studying theater, computer science. And so you really have this nice community of students that who you live with. So, but we would really recommend considering any of these options. The homestay is probably the most culturally immersive option, where you live with family, and we have all different kinds. So we do a very extensive matching process. And then Collegium and Student Bobona, you're spread kind of throughout the city. We have several different ones, but most students get their first or second choice in housing. So, yeah.
We have a very kind of extensive housing application process. So once you are registered and start choosing classes and choosing your housing, you can, in the housing application, it's an opportunity for you to add a lot of information about yourself, what's important to you in housing, if you have things like food allergies and or any other kind of like health issues that may impact your housing. And then we go through each of those applications and place students based on that information that you provide. So it's very personalized, and we try to make the best matches for each student. And like Julie said, you usually get your first or second choice, but you do have to rank them your first, second, and third choices. And we give notice of your housing placement about 9 to 10 days before you arrive in either Denmark or Sweden. And like we mentioned earlier, the city is really your campus. So it's not just the school where you're going to be at all of the time. So you're going to be utilizing the local infrastructure for hobbies, like if you want to join a gym or for grocery shopping, going to the doctor, anything like that is outside. So you're really using the city as locals do. And you can also expect to commute. So all students should expect to commute anywhere. There's some housing that's closer than others, but the commute is up to 70 minutes for students. So you can just expect to commute. And that's typical of the locals in either city. So taking the metro, the bus in Copenhagen, biking is almost everybody. I've never seen so many bikes in my life. So that's a very popular way of mode of transportation, regardless of the weather as well. So it's just, you're really immersing yourself in the culture as a local. And so that also becomes kind of part of the learning process as well. And so you won't be walking 10 minutes to class anymore. Like I said, you'll be commuting, whether it's the train or bus, bike, and there'll be some in Copenhagen. There's like we were talking about earlier, there's some buildings that are close by, but you won't necessarily be living as close. So money and budgeting. Here are just some examples of items that are covered by DIS. So this is what's included in your tuition. All of your books you'll receive. If you're living in a homestay, you'll obviously be doing laundry there. But if you're living in one of our shared housing options, you'll receive a laundry card. You'll also receive a transportation card. So that'll be to use public transportation, and or a bike option if you are a Copenhagen student. Health insurance is included. DIS has their own health insurance for students in both locations. The only difference is in Copenhagen, you'll also be a part of the national healthcare system as well, and which is free healthcare. So that in addition to the DIS insurance. Study tours are part of the cost that's built in. You'll also receive a partial food stipend. So it's an amount of money that we give you. It's a like a gift card for a grocery store. And it's not meant to cover all of your food expenses throughout the semester, but part of it. So you can kind of use that to budget. Your rooms come furnished, your linens, sheets, towels, kitchenware, all of that is included. So you don't have to bring anything from home. And we do have more on our website. You can also see a list of this isn't exhaustive, so you can just see some more inclusions on our website. And then Julie, we're going to talk a little bit about scholarships.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let you know that we have a variety of different scholarships available through DIS. And so what you do is you pay Brandeis for tuition, and then we bill you for the housing and student affairs fee. And if you get any scholarship, apply and get scholarships, we take it off of the student invoice. And so we have diversity scholarships, we have leadership scholarship, we have one in political science. So if you look on our website, you can see what's available. And almost every student who applies gets some kind of scholarship, and it can range up to about $5,000. And there's also a special scholarship that we just established in the Brandeis office after Scott Vandermeed. So you can talk to your Brandeis office if you're interested in learning more about that. But really your main expenses when you're abroad will be your food, your any kind of entertainment or anything you decide, personal travel or purchases. So yeah.
And you can check out this website that's listed here just to get an idea of kind of how things are compared to at home. And just get an idea of kind of what things cost, what it costs to go out to eat, what it costs to do things that you're used to doing at home. And then we just recommend that students use credit or debit card. So that can typically be accepted anywhere. And then we just say to resist the temptation to eat out and instead bring lunch from home, because that's a way that you're going to save money too. And that's a way that you can make that food stipend stretch as well, because it is expensive to eat out. And it would probably be, you will have time to do personal travel. So that's where, you could focus your budget to be able to travel and then do things once you're doing that. But I think it's good to have to really think about it before you leave and make a budget, because I think it can be a lot easier to spend money when you're abroad and excited. And so it's good to have this planned before you go. So some student life, we have options for students while they're studying either in Copenhagen or Stockholm. We have a visiting host program. So if you really want to get to know maybe some locals in either of the cities that you're studying in, but don't necessarily want to do a homestay for your housing, the visiting host program is a way we match you with locals. And then you can kind of drive that however you want to decide how often you want to meet throughout the semester. But it's a good way to just have like a connection, a local connection, maybe somebody that you can just get together with on the weekends or maybe for dinner, and just get to know some people that you might not normally have the opportunity to do. You can also pursue a hobby abroad. We do have an activities fair. So once you arrive, it's a way to just get to know some different opportunities for you to do in your spare time. Maybe you want to join a club or be a part of like a sports team. If you, like in this picture, this one of our students actually joined a basketball team, or maybe there's just some more informal groups that meet in the city, like to play soccer, or to go running, or something like that. So it's really up to you how much you want to put yourself out there, invest in just immersing yourself in the culture. It's up to you. We kind of give you some ideas and then you take it from there. And of course, you can always come to DIS for help.
So I didn't realize just how quickly a half hour goes by. I was hoping to dialogue more, but I just want to kind of in closing say that DIS is here to support you both, while you're making your decisions. This is just the start of a dialogue. Some of you may have been planning to study abroad for some time. Some of you might be looking at this program for the first time, but um, in the meantime, we're here at the North American office. We're here to answer your questions or to meet with you one-on-one, in addition to the Brandeis team. And then once you're on site, we have a strong network to support you, with our housing and student affairs, our academic support, our IT support, our care team. Stephanie is part of our care team, and they're both before, during, and after in any way that she can support you. We have a student hub. So yeah, that's kind of what we wanted to share with
I
you
just wanted
today.
to add one thing just as far as support, because I do work in the health and safety office, and my a lot of what I do is pre-departure health advising or accommodation advising. So if you have any type of physical academic accommodation that you receive at Brandeis, please reach out. We can mostly match what you receive. If it's maybe a little bit higher level, we can communicate about that, and we're willing to talk about whatever it is. So, and you can reach out to me directly about that if you have any specific questions, and I would be happy to have a conversation with you.
And maybe you could put your email in the chat for everyone too. So we don't, what's really nice about Brandeis is that Brandeis, once Brandeis admits you, you're admitted for DIS. So there's not a separate application process. But what I would recommend is once you are accepted, that you go ahead and register with DIS as soon as possible, just to get the courses that you want.
I'm just going to put my email address
Yeah.
right there.
So, yeah.
Thank you both. To follow up on the application point, so as Julie was saying, to apply to study abroad at DIS, you'll apply straight through our office, the Office of Study Abroad at Brandeis. The application is due March 4th, so that's certainly something to keep on your radar. And that application is for fall of 2021 or spring of 2022. So if you're planning to go either semester next year, you'll need to apply by March 4th. The application does take a letter of recommendation. So that's just something that is always good to budget out your time for, because faculty who write those typically are looking for a couple of weeks heads up. And our office is here and able to talk to you more about the program, about how credits may count, things like that, and your overall study abroad experience whenever you would like to. You can start that process by going to brandeisstudy.edu/abroad, reaching out to us at abroad@brandeisstudy.edu, or setting up an appointment with myself or any of the advisors in the office. So if there are any questions, I'm sure Stephanie and Julie would be happy to take them.
Yeah,
feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like, or type your question into the chat if you have any. While anyone's typing, for either of you, certainly something that's on the forefront of folks' mind these days is COVID-19. And I'm curious how DIS has been responding, is planning for the fall and the spring, Anything that you could share on that certainly would be interesting.
Yeah. So DIS hosted students in the fall on 2 customized programs, and we currently have students in Copenhagen also on a customized program. Denmark is dealing with COVID very well. Today, the positivity rate was like under 0.6%, 0.6%, yeah, very low. What they did earlier this year, though, was to impose stronger regulations because they're very concerned about the variant. So although the positivity rate has been, lower and kind of coming under control and the vaccine is rolling out, they're worried about keeping the variant from spreading. So right now, our plan is to run a fall and spring semester in person. We hope we're at a very different place worldwide and that students will be vaccinated. Denmark, in Sweden will be vaccinated. Yeah, we have had to make some modifications to our in-person teaching where students, the study tours were in country. So if you study in Stockholm, your study tours would be within Sweden. And if you study in Copenhagen, your study tours may or may not be in Denmark if we continue that way to stay in country. Right now, it's not possible to travel outside. And hopefully we're in a different place in the fall, but final decisions on the actual study tours, that may be something that's different. And also students were staying in country, so they weren't traveling outside to other countries. So that's one of the bigger differences from the past. But again, we don't know yet what the fall will look like, if we'll return to normal or not.
And we were making changes also with classrooms and housing, de-densifying so that students could social distance. And also, so making those changes as we go. But hopefully, things will look more normal for the fall and spring semesters.
Are there any other questions for our colleagues at DIS? If you think of things afterward or you want to ask questions privately, they've both put their emails into the chat, so definitely feel free to grab those. We're also always happy to connect you with anybody over at DIS if you have specific questions, but didn't copy over their emails.
We're not traveling anywhere. We're always available if you want to set up any time. It's so different doing an advising session over Zoom than being on campus where we can really answer your questions and talk to you individually. So I really miss that.
Me too.
Yeah. But please do reach out to us. We're happy to talk to you, and we have other colleagues as well. Yeah, but Brandeis is very near and dear to me, so I'm happy to talk to any of you. And Stephanie is a great resource as well, so.
Yeah, please reach out, any questions.
Well, thank you both for taking the time to talk to Brandeis students this afternoon. We will post this recording online as well for anyone who wants to go back and reference it. But otherwise, we will say farewell, and please don't hesitate to reach out to Stephanie or Julie or to myself if you have any other questions or want to get started with the process of applying to study abroad.
Great.
Thank
you. Take care, everyone.